So the next thing we're going to talk about in our sequence has to do with location, location, location. Location, location, location. There are 3 different places where you can put these cascading style sheet rules. Let's start right where the paragraph is and we'll work our way out. So the first location you can put them is you can put them exactly on the tag that you want to modify. And you notice we had a rule that said for all paragraphs, open bracket, I want the color to be this and I want the margin left to be this. If you specify the property and its value right there in the paragraph, you can't see this here but it's on your handout, then you don't have to worry about the selector. The selector is the tag you're inside of. The attribute looks style equals open quote, usually double quotes, open quote, and then the string in here is just those declarations. Property, colon, value, semicolon. Property, colon, value, semicolon. In this case, I want the color to be sienna. By the way, there's a bunch of predefined colors. I don't know how many there are. But if you're tired of RGB values, you can just call them like red, green, and blue. There's others. I think they come from the X window system color set. Anyway, trivia. I don't know where you find a list. I don't know where you know what those colors are.
CSS,
pardon me?
W3C
W3 schools have it?
Yeah.
Great. Anyway, the simplest point of saying this paragraph should have this kind of style is right here. It's kind of holdover from the old HTML4 attributes where you could say color equals so-and-so and align equals so-and-so. You can put it in the tag. What's the problem with putting the style right there in the tag?
If you want to change it, you have to go through and change every one.
Yeah, so there's a trade-off. Every time if you've got a whole bunch, if you've got a standard body copy and it's always Times Roman and it's always 12 point, if someone says, let's put out an edition for seniors and we want 40-point font, you got to go tag by tag by tag by tag and change it. The positive thing, and the reason most people do this to start with, especially when they're just starting out and it's hard to even understand where you are, is you know exactly where you are when you assign this style. You're right at the tag, and this is going to apply right here. So as you're starting out, it's real easy for you to say, well, I'm going to put my styles right on my tags because you never get lost because you're never going anywhere. But it's inflexible, and it's not typically done in practice. I have to catch myself. I'll be in the middle of designing a page, and something will be wrong, and I'll succumb to temptation, and I'll just throw a style attribute right in that tag, and it'll look good, and I'm on a deadline, so I move, and I tell myself, I'll put that in the style sheet later. Yeah. Did I mention I have a 10 megabit hub in my house?
Just later if it happens, yes.
So that's one of the things I just have to tell myself, stop doing that. For you guys that are starting out, don't do this. Just never do this. Because then you'll never form a habit that you have to break with. Now the next area, the next closest location you can put your style rules are up in the head container of every, is that me? Is that my phone? The next location is you can put all your styles up in the head location, the head container of your page. So that's what's called internal. So here's a short view of I suddenly realized why the fonts are running, excuse me, of a HTML page. And you'll notice that I'm using what's called, again, a style tag. And I don't know what the other types are, but you always should include the type, and it's always text/CSS. But all of your rules go inside of this container. It's XHTML, so it always has a closing tag. It's always /style. Inside here, we've got the rules, and these rules, since they're separated from the tags that they affect, these rules have selectors in them. So here, we're saying all my horizontal rules should be the sienna color. All my paragraphs should have a margin on the left. Notice that it's not margin, it's margin dash left. As you might expect, there's also margin dash top, margin dash right, margin dash bottom. If you never want to add a margin on those other parts of the box, you don't have to actually specify those other numbers. Frankly, I tend to put just margin and then the 4 numbers in there as you're first designing the page, because then you don't have to go back and edit it. You can just tweak the numbers. If you're adding something to a page that was designed by someone who knew what they were doing when they started, you'll probably see margin dash left, margin dash right in any case. Notice there's body here. Sorry, body. That means that this applies to everything that is visible on the page, and I'm looking at you. Everything that is visible on the page is between the body tags. Now you might say that the stuff that's in the head, the stuff in this style tag, influences how the body is displayed. And that's true. But everything between the body tags is affected by this selector. And this basically is saying that the body has a giant image on it. And this is one of the things, if you've ever seen a web page that has these huge images and the content floats in front of an image, this is one of the things that does it. You also have to mess with the margins to make it happen. So that's where you started. Is it the font?
I left my cell phone at home.
Sounds like a pager. It's going to drive me nuts. So when we gave you that ugly example of an HTML page, we gave you a page that had the styles internal to the page, and they're just affecting this image. Why is this limited? What limits us here? Why would you want to do anything else with this besides this? Okay? Hold that thought, hold that question in your head. The last way and the most flexible way of including style sheet information is to put all of the style sheet information in a separate file. Now this is more confusing because, again, what you see is the combination of something in an HTML file and then some other file. So as you're trying to do the design, you've got to keep 2 things in mind at the same time. It's the furthest distance from that tag. So if I'm trying to control a paragraph tag and how it appears, we saw that I could just put the inline style right there on the tag and I can change it, I can see that paragraph change. Here it's in the same file, it's closer. If I put it in an external file, all I've got to do up in the head of the HTML file is link it. I use a link tag, a link rel tag, link underbar rel. I say I'm linking to a style sheet, and again I tell what kind of style sheet I'm talking about. And I give an href, which follows all of the standard absolute versus relative addressing that we did in the tag. The upside to this is I can have one style sheet file for all of my HTML files. In this class, you've only got 1 so far. Well, you've got 2. You've got that JS program.
Try reading the sound of the computer.
Is it the sound of the computer?
I have a teacher that had it when she's doing a lecture, has that same problem.
Oh, you know what?
Sound.
That might be the frickin' pager on Desire to Learn.
Yeah.
And it's coming out of those speakers. Thank you. This is
It sounds like it's
embarrassing.
right above me.
One of our fellow students is trying to get a hold of me. Like, Mr. Zimmerman, there's a noise in your classroom. Who is this? Oh, I'm in a class on how to be a better Desire to Learn instructor. And this instructor is telling me if I want to join their class in progress, I can do that. Please forgive me. I'm sorry I have been subjecting all of us to this. I'm going to log out. I Actually, I was planning on going to the session tomorrow. Okay. So the benefits of an external style sheet are fairly simple. I can put the same style everywhere on my website. And a website is typically lots and lots of different web pages. You can have more than one of these. You can have as many style sheets as you like. As many as you like. And they all are brought into the page by the browser, and they're all applied. The rules are applied in a specific order. So, we'll talk about the order that they're applied in the next segment. But for now, for your assignment, you've got to take the style rules that are in your file, and you've got to move them to an external .css file. The thing that I see people have trouble with is they leave the rules in the main file. They leave the rule in the .html file. You don't need to do that. You can copy them, you can cut them, and paste them into the file. The other thing I see people have trouble with is they don't use the link tag. They use an A tag, an anchor tag, or they use a style tag. Frankly, I don't know why HTML has 3 or 4 different kinds of tags for what essentially does the same thing. But they do. Internal to your HTML file, you use a style tag. If you're linking, you use a link tag. The reason it's not an anchor tag is because an anchor tag is only followed when someone clicks on it. A link tag is loaded immediately. As the browser encounters this link, it goes and it gets the information immediately. Now, one of the things we'll see later is for JavaScript, you have links as well, and you bring in files of JavaScript. But you tend to do that at the bottom of the page. You tend to do that at the bottom of the page. You bring in your style sheet at the top of the page. And this is for several reasons. One, remember, the style sheet tells you how big those boxes are. You can either explicitly say this box is this big, this is the height and the width of this box, just like you can put it on an image. You can put it on a box too. And if you do that, the browser knows exactly how to render that page. It says, oh, I need so many pixels for this, I need so many pixels for this. The page appears to show up and to be rendered faster. And everybody loves fast pages. The other thing is you need to know what color your fonts are going to be and what font face, and all that style information. So you need to tell the browser, this is how you're going to render this text before you give it the text. In contrast with JavaScript, JavaScript has to wait until the page is ready, until the page is stable. And if you're spending time going off and getting JavaScript files from someplace, you're just wasting time that you could be spending producing the page. So style sheets go up in the top, they go up in the head. JavaScript can go in the head, but typically it goes at the bottom. We'll talk more about that next week.